Hi everyone, this is Deb Tim, a Canadian girl, and today I want to share with you some updates on my little fish room. So stay tuned for fish room news. Welcome to my little fish room. The fish room has grown by one more tank, actually 1.5 tanks. I'll explain that as I get into it. But I have some things to share, so let's get to it. So here's the new setup. I had a couple tiger barbs in here for a few days. I actually witnessed them breeding. The male chased the female around for a while. When she was ready, she quivered in place and began to drop her eggs. The male swam around the eggs, fertilizing them. This process happens a few times before they are finally finished. I left them together for another day and then removed them. At this point, I began to wonder if they did spawn, but I did see it happening, so I know they have spawned. After the first time I bred them, it was 5 days before I saw the first fry, so I have to be patient. I needed another 10-gallon aquarium empty, so I removed my little tiger barbs from this tank. The gal that came by to pick up the 2 free tanks, a 30-gallon and a 20-gallon, gave me 24 of her fry as an exchange. That was pretty cool. So in here, there are 24 beautiful, busy, active cichlid fry. There are strawberry peacocks, fryer eye, OB peacocks, zebra peacocks, powder blues, and a dozen species 44. I'm looking so forward to getting them big enough to join my mixed African community. They are already comfortable in this tank and eagerly await my feedings. They're looking very active and healthy. So now it's time to wait and enjoy the transformation. Now take a look at this adorable little tank. It's one of my extra Bettas tanks. It's just under 2 gallons, complete with mini sponge filter. I thought it would be a great place to put my baby tiger barbs for the time being. I must admit, it was tricky catching these little guys. They love to hide in the plant, but when I feed them, they all come out. They seem to be doubling in size daily. I just love how they look exactly like their parents do. Here are my oldest assorted fry. These are the ones I've been raising as feeders. I have already removed quite a few, but this tank keeps looking full. They are very healthy and fast. Anyone I feed them to has to work hard for a meal. It may not appeal to everyone, but I know the history, what they have been fed, and how they've been raised. To my mind, that's a pretty good food source for my cichlids. Plus, I really do love raising them. I love watching them from tiny come into colors. And of course, I will move the bigger ones to bigger fish and the smaller ones to smaller fish. Some of them manage to avoid capture, and I end up with a large cichlid. So if they do that, then they've earned a place in my mixed African aquarium. Here are my geophagus babies. Once again, they are in their very own tank. I did have the 24 assorted cichlids in here for a couple days until I got the barbs moved into their smaller aquarium. During my water change, I caught them and moved them into the tank of their own, as I like to keep my geos separate. You may have noticed I did miss one little cichlid when I moved the others out. I'll catch him during next week's water change. But the geos are doing really well, and the reason I moved them was because the geos like to sand sift, and I have small shrimp pellets I've been feeding them. But when I went to feed them Hardly any of them ever touched the sand because all the other cichlids would gobble them up before they reached it. I also made some changes in my guppy tank. I removed the stones, switching them out for sand. I find the sand is so much easier to keep clean, and I much prefer the look. I have guppies, neons, and 2 female bettas in here. Next, I may try breeding the neons, as I have a couple very fat females. I also caught the last of the Danios I had raised before and moved them into the 55-gallon in my show tank. If I find an empty 10-gallon, I may end up breeding them again as well. I love this part of the hobby. Otherwise, these guys are doing great. The guppies keep restocking this tank themselves for me. And that brings us to my betta rack. Someone mentioned they like the tanks on an angle, so I took their advice and agree it looks better. On the bottom shelf here, I have a handsome half-moon named Flash. He's fairly new to my collection. Then beside him, I have Crypto. Now, Crypto is getting quite old, actually, but he's still handsome. And Spike here is also one of my oldest, but he is doing great. And they make up the first shelf. And on the second shelf here, I have Chief, who is a half-moon. His colors aren't showing very well right now, but he is a beautiful betta. The next one is Goldie, and Goldie is really just solid gold, but he has a very prominent blue spot. And then finally, this is Picasso. Picasso is a veiled tail as well. He's very fond of his pot and plant. There's a better view of Chief with his colors. And that rounds up the second shelf. So on the top shelf is my crown tail named Bart. He is my laziest betta. He just hangs there. Next is Marcel. Marcel is a little younger. He is a crown tail, and he's quite active too. And finally, Flame. He's my veiled tail, but this guy is on a mission. He just never stops moving. So that is the conclusion of this edition of Fish Room News. So until next time, this is Deb Tim signing out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Have a great day tomorrow, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.